So, there's no way I can easily talk about The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Probably because, what more can I say about it? Really, that series has been one of the biggest staples of young adult fiction since The Hunger Games, considering its similarities and the fact that both are dystopian future novels. And just like The Hunger Games, it's a trilogy, for the most part. Maze Runner originally was first written by James Dashner in 2011, and it told a story about a young man named Thomas who gets sent into a maze, which is inhabited by a bunch of other boys. And as the boys try to get out of the maze, they start discovering things about the outside world that are kind of impervious to them. And so for me, I actually thought that was pretty interesting. I originally read the first novel it was based off of, and I also read the second novel, The Scorch Trials. I was pretty underwhelmed by it, but the book that really sold me for it was the final book, The Death Cure. To me, the series always had a bit of a Resident Evil meets Lord of the Flies franchise, especially in the final book. And honestly, even though I did play with a lot of dystopian tropes, and I felt James Dashner wasn't really bringing anything new to it outside of a heavy usage of slang and catchy words, I thought that there wasn't enough to stand it out. Although I did like some of the smarter twists and more detailed action that he took. And given that, just like the Hunger Games, I knew it was a matter of time before film adaptations would follow. And sure enough, they did. In 2014, the first Maze Runner adaptation hit the big screen, starring Dylan O'Brien as Thomas. It also featured Thomas Burley Sangster from Game of Thrones and Phineas and Ferb. It also featured Kea Scodelario from the famous UK show Skins. And the show was honestly really good. Not only was it directed by first-time director Wes Ball, who took a lot of inspiration from legendary director Terrence Malick. He also knew enough to give the book a more mature, darker, and sophisticated feel. And the film was actually praised a lot, not just for its strong cast and great story, but also for its unflinching, dark approach to its subject matter. I wish I could say this. I wish I could say that was a great film, and it kind of is, considering that the Maze Runner, the Scorch Trials, it wasn't. It did have a few bright moments to it. Like I definitely liked Game of Thrones Aidan Gillen as Jansen, and I did like the fact that the film basically kept to its dystopian narrative a lot more. However, when you compare it to the book, the film adaptation just totally goes off the rails. And I don't want to expect every adaptation to follow the novel beat for beat, but it didn't. But for this point, it changed up the story significantly. It didn't keep much of the elements in the novel that actually worked. And to be honest, I get what they're trying to go for, but despite the fact the action was well handled, I really did not like it at all. And so I had a little bit of trepidation for the Death Cure. Not only was the release date pushed back as during filming Dylan O'Brien hurt himself. Although Wes Ball promised that the show would get back on track, as well as promised that it wouldn't be a two-parter, I really did not know what to expect. But I decided to go in and give it a try. So, what do you think? What did I think? Well, I'll say this. This is definitely a step up from the Scorch Trials. Does it reach the heights of the first film? Not particularly, no. But Wes Ball does indeed go back on track, and he does actually retain the actual story of the novel. But that being said, given that most of the beats in the novel seem to be kind of left behind, I do kind of miss that. And it is definitely a great send off to the trilogy and provide much needed closure. But sometimes, but in comparison to other adaptations, this definitely doesn't work. So first let's talk about Wes Ball's direction, and you can definitely see the Terrence Malick influence inside the film because you can definitely tell this guy's been doing his homework on action films, and he knows how the film scenes really well. His direction is very well done, and he includes long takes whenever they need them. He frames the action very well, and he avoids shaky cam whenever he can avoid it. And I gotta say, this guy's usage of long takes may not rival that of Edgar Wright, but god darn it, if that guy doesn't know his way around a camera like no others. And the cinematography in this film is actually really well done. And the action scenes actually have some serious teeth to them. Seriously, you got blood, you got windows shattering. It's intense. And really, not much more I can say about that. That and and for the script, he originally brought back T.S. Nolan, who wrote the first two novels, and I do get what he was kind of go for and trying to give it their own take, and that was a good thing. But now it gets to Percy Jackson, the Olympians, both the Lightning Thief and the Sea of Monsters. Well, so they sacrifice most of the novel's memorable original beats, and try to make their own, unaware of the fact that this region those beats connected so well with the readers. Specifically, a lot of people were disappointed in the Scorch Trials, where Teresa's betrayal affected the entire group, whereas in the book it only affected just Thomas. In the film, however, they do kind of retain that, as Teresa is with Wicked as normal. However, the choice to basically have focus or have focus be on hers and Thomas's relationship instead of him trying to move on from her and try to get close to Brenda. I honestly thought that was honestly a missed opportunity because there's a reason why James Dashner made about Thomas and Brenda instead of Teresa, because Teresa was his past in the novel, and she thought that Thomas still liked her, and thus she thought that by doing all of this she could save him, because in the novel Jansen lied to her. And whereas in this film, yeah, she's still with Wicked, but she does perceive conceivable reasons as to why she's with them. However, I don't feel the same sense of stakes. I don't feel like I feel like Thomas didn't really get any actual development in this time around. He does get some good development, mind you. I mean, he starts to deal with the fact that the world's crumbling around him, and he has to come to the realization that, yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, I can't save everyone. People are gonna die, and I have to live with that. And that's one of his problems against Wicked. They can't see past the fact that they're killing people, but they basically claim the ends justify the means the entire time. And I do like that they do kept some beats of the original novel. I won't spoil what they are, but I do like the fact that they at least keep some of the stuff that impacts the story later on, and for Thomas and everyone else involved. And honestly, you change up the story a little bit. I can definitely say that, but it wasn't that bad, really. So in the end, look, guys, this is not any better than the original Maze Runner. But it's definitely better than the Scorch Trials. And I do like the fact that James Dasher trusted Wes Ball to make a good film adaptation out of this, and he does. And also one last thing, Dylan O'Brien, that guy was great in this film. The guy honestly reminds me of a mini Tom Cruise, and that he does his own stunts. He's not afraid to get back up when he's injured, and the fact that he does everything he can to ensure he sells them well. So Dylan O'Brien does great in this film, but I want to see him do better later on. And also, Thomas Brody Sangster does an amazing job as well as Newt. Like his and Thomas' friendship actually touched many people in the theater, including me. And honestly, the final scene with him, that was heartbreaking. Just wow. So in the end, look, guys, this is not better than the Maze Runner, but it is better than the Scorch Trials. And as for what stacks up among other adaptations, I'm not going to say it does. I mean, it's not going to reach those heights anytime soon. I'll say The Hunger Games or Wonder. But it does a great job for what it does. It ends the trilogy off very well. It proves that no other sequels will be made. And the action is very strong. The characters are good. And it shows that sometimes in the end, you don't always get what you want. You don't get that closure you need sometimes for some of the characters. So for me, I'm going to give this film a solid 6 out of 10. So yeah, thanks all for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, comment down below, let me know what you like. Welcome to 2018, guys, that's all I'm going to say. And I'm sorry about delaying with my top best of 2017. That will be coming at the end of this month, I promise. Until then,